Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back into another edition of Jake's Takes. I am your host, Jake Masucci, and today we got a special edition of the podcast. It is I think it's episode 66, which is unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, show's been going on a long time, and guess what? It is the 1 year anniversary of Jake's Takes, and I'm super excited to just kind of talk about it. We're going to go through the past year and kind of discuss like how Jake's Takes has grown and, like some of the behind the scenes statistics that Spotify for Podcasters has given me to kind of talk about year one and just talk about what everything was, how the audience was, stuff like that. I look at these every once in a while. I don't really look at them too much, especially with just how busy I am. So I'm going to try to kind of do like a 20-minute segment talking about year one, what some of the statistics were, how I think I'm going to improve and try to give you some stuff to look for in year two and what I'm going to try to do. I'll look at Spotify and then maybe take a break and look at YouTube. And then we also had our divisional playoffs, the divisional playoffs. That was actually the first episode I did was the divisional playoffs the year before, last year. So I'm going to actually make this two different podcasts. So the Jake's Takes 1 year anniversary podcast is going to come out today. I'm recording this Monday afternoon. I'm probably going to try to put it out Monday night, probably around, let's say I'm recording this 3:00, so it'll probably come out around 6 or 7, which would make sense. And then, I'll record the AFC and NFC divisional games. The Lions are in the NFC Championship. I am so pumped about that. So I'll record that part of the podcast later tonight, and that'll come out in the morning on Tuesday. And that's kind of going to be the week at a glance for you. So I'm going to try out some new music, and let's get started. I'm going to cue the music. All right, let's get into the show. So this is a little different than I had been doing it. It's hard to describe a little bit. Some of the people in the radio world would know what it is, but I got a Rodecaster Pro 2. I bought it for Christmas and I've been using it the past couple weeks, and I love this thing. This thing is awesome. It came in with some pre-downloaded music, and I decided to use that music because why not? A lot of people have been telling me that the trumpets we're getting old, and I did record that off of my computer to make that work. So I do think it was time for a change, and this music's kind of cool, so why not go with it, right? So let's just go over kind of year one, what happened, some statistics for the year, and just some of the great episodes that were. Like each episode I'm doing. So for you guys that don't know, I was really, I talked about it a lot on my episode with Giovanni for the Jomo show. I started my podcast because I loved like sports talk radio. I just do. It's awesome. I listen to sports podcasts all the time. I mention them as much as I can because a lot of my knowledge comes from them. And when I'm using something that they said, I definitely want to give them credit for saying it. I listen to Bill Simmons a lot. I think he's really good with NBA and NFL. He's just kind of got some funny takes with, he's a big gambler. So those are kind of fun. And then Ryan Russillo, I think, does really good in both NFL and NBA. And he has a lot of good guests on. I love Todd McShay when he comes on Russillo's podcast. Really just, awesome there. And then some of the others I listen to Dan Wetzel on occasion. Dan Wetzel's a good friend of my dad. And like, I was blessed to kind of talk to him about, this stuff. And I reached out to him through email to, ask for advice. So he's really an awesome guy. I follow him on Twitter. I'm big on following a lot of good Twitter people. For college football, I listen to the Solid Verbal, which is a very good podcast. It's a smaller podcast, but they do a lot of cool stuff. And like have a cool subscriber base. So I listen to them a lot. They had Bruce Feldman on once, and Bruce Feldman has turned into one of my favorite college football analysts. He is all over the transfer portal and all that. So like I feel really in tune with the college football world, mostly because of like him just tweeting 24/7 about prospects going where, and like high school athletes and all that jazz. So I think he's awesome. And those are kind of the main podcasts I listen to. Like I try to get as much information as possible so I'm able to talk about it. But that's kind of like where the inspiration came from. And last year, like my cousin Asher Smith, who's been on the podcast multiple times, we talked about college basketball. He's my college basketball guy, but he gave me a microphone, and because my family has always known that I love broadcasting, and like I was a big Sports Center guy growing up, and I was like, man, I should really start looking into this, So I talked to the radio station and tried to learn as much as I could, and then I think my first episode, if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna make sure that I have it right. Um, my first episode, I believe, was January 22nd. Let me make sure I got it right. January 21st was when I released the trailer episode. And then January 22nd was the first episode, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. I went 45 minutes and talked about the Saturday games and then the Sunday games. And then I went with an NBA podcast right after. So that's kind of awesome. NBA podcast was the day after. I did it on the 24th and released one with Gus the next day. Man, I was going crazy with the podcast immediately, which is absolutely awesome. Absolutely awesome. But I mean, looking at the year, I was able to record. So this is episode 66. So I got 65 episodes done in the first year of Jake's Takes. And in total, I had 845 plays all time, which that number I don't tend to look at very much, especially with me being a very new podcaster. All of the advice that I've found in the world is it really doesn't matter about the listens. It just doesn't. You'd like to see what works and see what people will come and tune into and listen to. So I look at it, but I don't at the same time. Like another good advice that I kind of found was imagine having your podcast and those people are in the room listening to you talk, So like if 25 people listen to my podcast, let's say just for example, then I imagine like I'm in front of a room of 25 people. That's awesome. Like that's a great room, and I really feel like I can get my understanding of what I'm talking about and like really try to connect with each person. So that's really what I try to do, like, and try to look at for the plays, because like, yes, you want to have a million plays. You want to like be one of the top podcasters in the world. But to be honest with you, I'm just trying to learn so much about it, try to understand everything about it before any of that happens. So first year, 845 plays, we'll take that. We want it to go up, and it will continue hopefully going up. But I'll take 845 plays any day of the week. We have 6 plays per episode, which is great because I release so many different types of podcasts, especially with this just being an overall sports show. And that's more to generate different types of audiences. So then like multiple people will come in and listen to the podcast. So I'll take 6 plays per episode. Like, I think that's a very good average to start out with. And this is all for the Spotify list. YouTube list I might get into a little later, but we'll see with that. The YouTube I didn't really start until probably about like 7 months ago. I went all in on the video aspect. I had that first podcast with Drew. I think that was episode 9, if I'm not mistaken. It was NBA trade deadline stuff. So, the Spotify followers right now, I have 40 followers, which is great number, absolutely great number. And, the plays have been really good. Looking at episode rankings, the highest one that was played was episode 32 when I was doing the college athlete series, which I might get into again. I've with me working with the Oakland team, it might be something to dive into again, try to give you an insight on kind of my life. That's what I tried to do with the Inside Oakland Basketball series as well, which I kind of started as I started traveling with the team. I'm actually going to Milwaukee later this week, so that's part of the reason why I'm only doing a Monday, Tuesday podcast this week. But that college athlete series was so much fun. And episode 32 was Allison Lapointe. That was a great podcast because it really brought in kind of the whole Shrine world. The whole Shrine world was like, oh my gosh, you had Allison Lapointe on your podcast? That's awesome. I'm going to go take a look at that. And, that got 36 plays. It was really a great podcast. Definitely was one of my brighter ideas when doing this podcast. But Allison was awesome. It was actually funny because we were doing it over Zoom, and her Zoom video went out. Like it was freezing all over the place, and she was like, oh, is that okay? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, it's totally fine. We're going to make this work because I'm just so happy you're doing this. And we made it work. It was really an awesome podcast. Really thankful for that Allison was able to do that with me. And, I just threw out the audio on there, and people love the audio. Like, I think I got the most satisfaction and people thanking, people like, oh, I listened to your podcast with Allison. That was awesome, and that was really cool. And then my little trailer with introducing Jake's Takes, I got to update that. I'm definitely going to update that soon. Definitely a year now. A lot of podcasters that I know really update that kind of yearly, and I think I'll update that as well. But that one got 36, the original one. Same as Allison's podcast. That one was good. Again, me just starting out, me just trying to learn everything. And then sorry, I got a little bug. But the next episode that was pretty good was episode 29. I had Jeff on, and that one was really good because that was kind of like the second season. I took a little break for the summer. I took like a month break, and then August 2nd, I put that date out there. I built up some anticipation, and then I had Jeff on, and Jeff was a really good get because he's a high school classmate. He's one of my guys. He's one of my good friends, and it was really cool, kind of jumping into the golf world and seeing how all of that worked. And I thought that one was awesome. It was a really cool one. Jeff did a good job putting it out there too, and I'm really thankful that he was willing to come on. And we were just doing it in the basement right here. Awesome podcast there. I was thankful for Jeff for coming on, and like that college athlete series really got to a bang when Jeff came on there. All right. Next one was episode 1, got 28 plays, and that one was just the build up. Everybody was like, oh, Jake started a podcast, so that one got a lot of plays, and that one was a lot of fun also. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is episode 45. I had Connor on. We talked about week 4. We talked about Alabama, and Connor did an awesome job, getting that podcast out there. He put it on his story. He tried to get as many people to listen to that as possible. And, that was like right in the middle of the college football season. Alabama just had a big win against Ole Miss. We centered on Alabama. We talked a lot about SEC. That was one of my favorite ones because we jumped all over the place. We talked about Big Ten for a while, who we thought was coming out of the Big Ten. We talked about Pac-12 for a while, who we thought was coming out of Pac-12. Talked about the SEC. Connor was all in on Bama making it to the playoff. And guess what? They did. So, all of that, I thought that was a really cool episode. Another one I just want to shout out, or 2 shout outs I'm going to give. Steven's episode did really well with 25 plays, and he was awesome. Again, that one was in my basement, really just jumping into the baseball world, because we get into the baseball world every once in a while. Marty Hanna and Drew Comer do a fantastic job in the baseball world on the podcast, but that one was awesome. It was flat out awesome. We did a great podcast there, and Steven was awesome talking about his story, and getting everything going. So that one was really cool. And then episode 41, I had Jonah on, and that one was college football. It was right after Mel Tucker got suspended, so I did a little intro talking about Mel Tucker, and then talked about Texas, Alabama, and then Big Ten football. And Jonah was all in on Big Ten football then, so we really jumped into each scenario and things of that nature. So I thought that episode was really good as well. And Jonah's just awesome with that stuff. He was really good there. He did some March Madness for me too. So, just awesome guy there. Was really appreciative of him coming on. I've had some great guests throughout the whole year. And, Aaron's been awesome this year. He's been on a decent amount of times talking about NFL football. I had Reagan on, which was awesome. Episode 57, that one got a lot of plays. My basketball guys, Matt Griffin and AJ Masucci, they were awesome. Anthony Masucci, my other brother, came on for NBA draft talk, which that one was great as well. Trying to think. I'm trying to get as many people talk about as many people as possible that I had on. Gus was awesome when he was on. Marty Hannon, fantastic. Drew was on a few times. I had Peter Murphy on, and that was a great episode, jumping into the hockey world, which is something I rarely do. So that one was a lot of fun. All these podcasts were great. They were flat out great. And this year was definitely just a year where I was trying to improve everything, and I could definitely tell with the quality of a podcast, like each time I did a podcast, each time I recorded a podcast, I was just better. Everything was flowing. It was just a lot better. I was growing. Everybody sounded better when I continued doing the podcast. So, just learning about the equipment and learning about all of it was just so much fun. And this year was very much for me just a learning process. It was like, okay, this works. This doesn't work. This works. This doesn't work. And I'm going to try to keep that same, sort of mindset into 2024 and into this year of podcasting, because for me, if I'm able to just learn like what works, what doesn't work, what social media part works, what social media part doesn't. In the social media world, I have on Instagram, I think 111 followers, which is flat out awesome. I want to continue to grow that. I want to get that up to the 200 followers, to the 300 followers, just keep that going. Those Instagram reels have been awesome. I had a few with 1,000 views. Jeff Andrus on his podcast was fantastic with that. On YouTube, if I remember right, it was 1.7K views on his short. And on Instagram, it was 2,000 views. Just stuff like that. And I'm trying to grow with that stuff. I think the YouTube shorts and the Instagram reels, I got a lot of love on those stuff. So I'm trying to get as many of those in as possible. Looking at Spotify, just another stat to throw out there. The audience was, very interesting in the gender aspect, whereas 51 male, 48% female. So 51% male, 48% female. And I thought that was really interesting. To be honest with you, I thought there would be a lot more of a male audience, but I guess not really, which is fine. I'm 100% happy with that. Just from this being a sports show, I think going out to not just football, not just basketball, going out to different sports attracts different viewers, which I love. I flat out love. I'm trying to get as much content out as possible and as much different content out as possible, because some people might be all in on the AFC Championship game, and some people might just be all in on the Detroit Lions, which is absolutely fine. Or some people might be all in on just Taylor Swift, which we did, I think that aspect of it, and just changing up what you talk about and where you talk about. And for me, it's just all about growing, all about getting better. And with this podcast, that's my goal. It's just about getting better, continuing to do that stuff. And overall, this year has just been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. I can't believe it's already been a year. I remember starting this like it was yesterday and not knowing what the heck I was doing. It's all been a learning process this year, and I've been very excited to do it. It's something that just it's different, it makes the time fly by, it's so much fun to do, and I'm going to keep doing it, man. I'm really looking forward to the second year of doing this, the second full year, at least. There's going to be no logo change. Okay. I really like my logo now. That first logo was just me trying to put something together and, just get podcasts out. So that's part of the reason why I took that break and was like, okay, we're totally rebranding. So that was the rebrand there. Some things to look at in the future. Okay. These are some things that I want to accomplish this year and I'm hoping to get done. I want to create a website. So that's something I'm going to try to learn probably when my classes die down and when the traveling for basketball dies down. But I want to have a website. You know, the website is going to probably contain just like the past episodes, you know, stuff like that, maybe like my past predictions. I want to put in parts where like little sites where some people that have been on my podcast can write about things. So like if I've talked to AJ about it a little bit. We haven't really gone too in depth, but like if AJ wants to write about the surge that the Oklahoma City Thunder are on, you know, he can write about that and talk about like why they're doing so good. And I would shout it out on the podcast. You know, like if AJ can't come on the podcast like every single week to talk about it, you know, that's a great spot to find some of his stuff. You know, Matt Griffin does a lot of different radio, like a lot. So he can advertise himself on that platform and can put stuff on that platform to help himself grow. So I think overall it would really help pretty much everybody just talk about their sports opinions, you know, throw it out there. I think that's going to be a key thing that I'm looking at to kind of add on. And then people have been talking to me about it a lot as I'm going to look into getting some merch. So like a sweatshirt with the J or a hat with the J, you know, I think that logo is really awesome. And I think it would be really cool to get some merch, get some logos, and hopefully try to build some money, you know, kind of build a brand, you know, like start that process of doing it. But you know, this year's been awesome. It's been flat out awesome. And I can't thank you guys enough for being there for me because you guys have shown me nothing but love. And I'm really appreciative of you guys showing me that love. And, you know, I'm going to try to continue bringing out this content to, you know, hopefully entertain you guys. But that's going to kind of wrap up this part of the show. I do want to hear you guys' thoughts. Okay. Give me some ideas for what I should do for year 2 of the podcast. You know, year 1 was a lot of fun and I was just trying to figure out stuff. I was trying to see what worked, what didn't work. But tell me what you guys want. Do you guys want me to have some Jake's Takes merch? Do you guys want me to only talk about specific sports? Do you guys want me to keep going out and trying to find different sports to talk about? Do you want me to bring in more athletes? Do you want me to bring in coaches? You know, what kind of guests do you want? What do you want to see from Jake's Takes in 2024? That's my question to you guys. And please just let me know. You can text me. A lot of you have my phone number. If you don't have my phone number, it's 248-410-9500. Email me. My main email, probably just go with my Oakland email, masucci@oakland.edu. And yeah, I mean, just give me all of your thoughts and I will take it 100%. So thank you guys for a wonderful year. And, you know, that's going to wrap up this version of the podcast. I'm going to talk about the AFC divisional games also. That's going to come out Tuesday, but that's going to wrap up the show for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.